Good morning, everyone. So, our topic is about the 1987 Constitution. So, the 1987 Constitution of the Philippines took effect on February 11, 1987, following a national plebiscite held on February 2, 1987, where it was ratified by the people. The Constitution was drafted by a Constitutional Commission and approved on October 12, 1986. The document establishes the Philippines as a democratic and republican state, defining the separation of powers among the legislative, executive, and judicial branches. President Aquino proclaimed the Constitution ratified and it took effect on February 11, 1987. And the Constitution established a presidential form of government with a bicameral Congress, Senate and House of Representatives, and a Supreme Court. This constitution was a product of the People Power Revolution of 1986, which ousted the Marcos regime and restored democracy. The 1987 Constitution continues to be the legal framework of the Philippines.
Good day, everyone. I am Stephen Pensachi Tejero, the next reporter of the Group 5, which is the 1987 Constitution. And I'm going to present to you or discuss to you the preamble and together with the articles 1 to 6. So let's proceed to the discussion. First is we're going to discuss the preamble. So the preamble serves an introduction and sets the tone for the entire document, and it has various purposes. First is to establish source of authority, define the nation's goals, provide framework for the governance, and lastly, to inspire and unite the Filipino people. In other words, preamble is a declaration of the nation's ideas and serve as the foundation for the Constitution's revision. Now, let's proceed to the Article 1, the national territory. It defines the national territory including land, waters, and airspace. This affirms the country's right over its resources. So the national territory is comprises of the following. First is the Philippine archipelago. The second one is all territories which the Philippine sovereignty or jurisdiction. So the national territory can be divided into three categories, which is the terrestrial domain, or the land itself, such as the agriculture. Second one is the fluvial domain, or the water area. Can be internal and external waters. And the last one, or the last domain, is the aerial domain, which can be defined as the airspace of the sovereignty and jurisdiction of the Philippines. Moving on to the next article, which is the Article 2, the Declaration of Principles and State Policies. First is this article has 28 sections, but don't worry, we're going to discuss this article in simple terms. First one is that it affirms the Philippines as a democratic and republican state. But what is republican and democratic state? Democratic state is run by the people, or the government is run by the people. Republican state, however, people can choose their leaders to represent and make the laws. In the context of the Philippines, it is both democratic and republican state. In other words, Philippines is a democratic republic, whereas people have the power to choose the government, define powers, abolish the government, and form a new one. This article also highlights the protection of human rights and promotion of social justice and equalities. And also, it highlights the protection of the environment to conserve and to protect the environment. We are now in the Article 3, which is the Bill of Rights. So this article provides or protects individuals' rights and freedom from government abuse. I'm sure you are already familiar with different human rights, but I will still name a few. The right to life. No person shall be deprived of this right without due process of law. Freedom of unreasonable searches and seizures. Search warrants and arrest requires probable cause. Freedoms of speech and expression. Freedom of religion. right to information, right to form union, and protection against abuse. Overall, Bill of Rights safeguards individuals' rights and freedoms, ensuring that the government respects and protects its citizens' dignity and well-being. Article 4, the citizenship. So, citizenship is defined who are considered Filipino citizens in the ways to acquire or lose citizenship. First is who are Filipino citizens. It can be categorized into two categories. Citizens by birth. So these are the Filipino individuals who are born with Filipino parents, either father or a mother. The second one is citizens by naturalization. Those who acquire citizenship through legal process. And we also have ways to acquire Filipino citizenship. So by birth, if one or both parents are Filipino citizens. Second one is by naturalization through legal process or meeting certain requirements. So there are also individuals who can lose their citizenship by renunciation or voluntary giving up citizenship. Then the second one is by naturalization in a foreign country, acquiring citizenship of another country. But there are also people who have dual citizenship, but it requires specific requirements to acquire both. So in summary, this article helps us define who are considered Filipino citizens and the rules surrounding the citizenship process. Now let's move on to the Article 5, or the suffrage. So a suffrage is defined as the right to vote and participate in the democratic process of the Philippines. So it defines who can vote. So the individuals who can vote are the Filipino citizens over 18 years old and above and who are registered. So how to vote? Through secret ballots protecting the integrity of the election process. So when you are trying to vote someone, it must be kept in secret for the protection of the integrity. In addition, voters must be registered to exercise their rights and suffrage. In essence, suffrage allows citizens to participate in democracy, choose their leaders, and decide on important issues. Now we are in the Article 6, the Legislative Department. So the Legislative Department establishes a bicameral Congress consisting of the Senate and the House of Representatives. It defines the power and responsibilities of lawmakers. The Senate is composed of 24 senators elected nationwide. The House of Representatives, however, is composed of district representatives and partyless representatives. The key functions of Legislative Department is categorized into three functions. First one is the lawmaking. They are responsible for creating, amending, and repealing the law. The second one is budgeting, approving the national budget, or they are responsible for approving the national budget of the nation. And the third one is conducting investigation and hearing process to ensure accountability. In short, the Legislative Department is responsible for making laws and overseeing the government's actions. So that would be all for my part, and I will give the next floor for my co-reporter. Thank you for listening.
I'm Cynthia De La Torre, and now let's proceed to the Article 7, which is the Executive Department. So this article establishes the executive branch, and we all know that it is led by the President, na mao'y nagdumala sa tibuok gobyerno. And the President is responsible for enforcing the laws, leading the country, and making important decisions para sa kayuhan sa nasod. And this includes appointing officials, commanding the armed forces, granting pardons, and using his veto powers kung kinahanglan. And it is also explains the qualifications, ang iyang terms sa serbisyo, and the procedures for successions of impeachments, kumapakyas
siya sa iyang katungdanan. And now, in Article 8, which is the Judicial Department, so kanina article is establishes the judicial branch responsible for interpreting laws o pagsiguro nga patas ang pag-apply niini. So, it defines the court system structures starting with the Supreme Court as the highest court o apil ang mga ubos ng korte nga nay ilang kaugalingong jurisdiction. So it emphasizes judicial independence, ensuring the judiciary's freedom from undue influence by other branches of government. So sa Article 9 mao ang constitutional commissions. So kanina article nag-create ni siya og tulo ka independent constitutional commissions. Mao ang the Civil Service Commission, Commission on Elections which is the COMELEC o Commission on Audit. So kanina commissions nag-work ni siya independently aron ma-maintain ang checks and balances sa sulod sa gobyerno. They manage personnel, oversee elections o mag-audit sa financial activities sa mga ahensya sa gobyerno. So, Article 10, mauni ang sa local government. So, kanina article establishes the local government systems giving autonomy to LGUs o local government units aron sila makadumala sa ilang tasatag sa kalugar. It outlines their powers and responsibilities, including generating income o paghatag o basic services sa ilang constituents. Kanina article also explains the process sa paghimo o pagbag-o sa mga LGUs kung kinahanglan. Article 11, Accountability of Public Officers. Kanina article explains the process of making public officials accountable sa ilang mga lihok o desisyon. It also includes the impeachment of disciplinary actions para ma-promote ang transparency o good governance. Article 12, National Economy and Patrimony. Kanina article focuses on the country's economy o pagpanalipod sa atong national patrimony like yuta, mineral resources o uban pa. It also talks about economic policies, how we manage our resources, o ang pagprotect sa national assets para sa atong future generation.
Okay, so for the next article, which is the Article 13 of the 1987, it is a Philippine Constitution focuses on social justice and human rights. It emphasizes the state's commitment to reducing social, economic, and political inequalities and enhancing human dignity. So there are key areas covered by Article 13. So the first area is social justice. This is the state aims to protect human dignity, reduce inequalities, and equitable distribute wealth and political power. This includes regulating property, ownership, and use. Next is labor. Full protection to labor is provided. This is for promoting full employment and equal opportunities. Workers' rights to self-organization, collective bargaining, and peaceful concerted activities, including the right to strike, are guaranteed. The state ensures security of tenure, humane working without and a living wage. Next is the agrarian reform. This article addresses the rights of landless farmers and farm workers to own the lands they till or receive a just share of the fruits. It promotes the condition of this distribution.
The Article 14 of 1987 Constitution focuses on free education, that elementary and high school should be free in public schools, and also the quality education, ensuring that all levels have access to quality education. And this article also focuses on values education and promotes Filipino as a national language. The teachers should teach patriotism and good morals and citizenship. Article 15 of 1987 Constitution emphasizes the importance of the Filipino family as the foundation of the nation, aiming to strengthen and support its development. The government recognizes marriage as a special institution and will protect it, while also defending the rights of spouses and children. This includes ensuring responsible parenting, care, nutrition, and protection from harm for children and supporting spouses in starting a family according to their beliefs. Article 16 of this Constitution prioritizes national identity and sovereignty by protecting national symbols and limiting foreign military presence. It also outlines the structure of the country's military, promoting a citizen armed force and professional military that respects human rights and stays out of politics. Additionally, the article mandates that mass media and advertising industries must be at least 70% Filipino-owned and controlled to promote national interest. Article 17 outlines three methods to propose amendments or revisions to the Constitution. Congress can propose changes with a 3/4 majority vote, or a constitutional convention can be called with a 2/3 majority vote. Additionally, citizens can initiate changes through a petition signed by at least 12% of registered voters, known as People's Initiative. However, People's Initiative has limitations, including only proposing amendments, not revisions, and specific timing restrictions. Article 18 of 1987 Constitution contains transitory provisions that facilitated the transition to a new constitution. It set the date for the first elections under the new constitution and specified the terms of office for the first elected officials. The article also ensured continuity by allowing existing laws to remain in effect until amended or repealed. To ensure a smooth transition, the President was authorized to exercise legislative powers and reorganize the government until Congress convened. Additionally, the article directed the government to increase salary scales for officials and employees and establish rules for sequestration or freeze orders. The Constitution took effect immediately after ratification by a majority vote in a plebiscite superseding all previous constitution.